Sakamoto Taro is a legendary assassin in the underworld. Every time this name is mentioned, everyone is terrified. A man who was strong enough to defeat many notorious gangs at the same time was defeated by a girl who seemed to be as extremely normal, but has caused him to be accused of love. As a result, he gave up his job as an assassin to get married and have children. Many years passed. He has become a model father with a big body today. The young man who used to follow him came to find me after a long time of not seeing me. Exine really missed the brother he always admired in the assassin world. Inside the grocery store, there was a naughty kid who dared to make a request with Taro that if he hits the target, he must give a box of milk. It's true that the business has failed, and now he meets these little devils. He will probably go bankrupt soon. Sakamoto and his wife see that boy often comes to the shop recently. I don't understand how. Luckily, the arrow didn't hit the target. He was going to try again, but unexpectedly, he spilled the ink bottle on someone else's pants, making it even blacker. That bastard. That guy was quite good. He immediately grabbed him by the neck and wanted to teach him a lesson. Seeing this scene, the couple didn't know what to do. Then that bastard even put a thick mark on his pants. As a result, he was also beaten by that guy. Luckily, the legendary assassin stood up to block him and used a pin to poke his opponent's head. In reality, he only imagined it because he missed his job. His wife and children were here, but he wouldn't dare give them more money. Doing so, the whole family had to coax the boy without realizing that a guest had come to praise Sakamoto's technique. He stuck the pin into his lower jaw and hit the artery right away. If it was true, the other party would definitely have died. It greeted him, saying, "It's been a long time since I've seen you, Sakamoto," and ended up being killed in his mind because he was a psychic, so he could always read these kinds of thoughts. Because he was so scared, he also reminded his senior to remember that he was his subordinate. He stammered, unable to believe that the legendary assassin of that day has actually retired and become a fat grocery store owner like this. But he really wanted Taro to return to the underworld again. But the answer was no, because he already had a family. Hearing that made Shin feel quite angry, but there was nothing he could do. Remembering the time when he was at his peak, he was the terror of the underworld. The Tam Lake is famous, but now he throws it all away. It's really hard to understand. Taro doesn't care but focuses on the cup of noodles in front of him. It seems that everything has changed, from personality to eating habits. Please remember, in the past, this dad only ate dry food, never noodles. If they hadn't been together for a while, they probably wouldn't have realized that Shin was planning to smoke. But before he could light it, Sakamoto cut it off even faster. This shocked Shin deeply. This firmly confirmed that whether he was fat or thin, Taro could still kill Shin at any time. Suddenly, a neighbor came to ask for some help, making Shin think that he was disguised as a civilian to hire assassins. In reality, it's not like that. People just want to cut off the excess leaves on trees in this neighborhood. No one does not know about Taro, so they still often ask for help. The legendary assassin never hesitated, but always supported wholeheartedly. Even feeding the children had to go through him. Seeing the two children crying because there was no ball to play with, Sakamoto tore the ball in half and then remolded it as if nothing had happened. Shin, who followed him, was extremely angry when the older brother he admired became a beggar for the whole neighborhood. It was really a damned bullet. He praised Sakamoto for hiding his identity. "I'm excellent at my character, but now I see that my senior is really ridiculous." As soon as he finished speaking, the kid shot him in the head, making the young man angry. He also ran away, so he couldn't chase him. When they got to the car, their true nature was revealed. They hadn't seen each other for 5 years, but seeing that the legendary assassin was still as cool as ever, even though he had become a fat uncle, he really didn't want it to cooperate with Trinchien once more. At that moment, he received a call from his boss asking about persuasion. Sakamoto's reappearance shows that he has not yet fulfilled his request to be eliminated, because this is the rule in the assassin world. Once one's hands are stained with blood, it is very difficult to escape, even if that person is considered a legend. Also, I'll try to defend my brother, saying that he's just a fat guy right now and can't cause any trouble. However, he still refuses to say that whoever disappears from the gang, I'll log him out of life. But if he can't do it, he will be the one to die. Hearing that, the young man wanted to decide for himself. He went to buy some things to replenish his energy before starting the battle. Even though he loved his older brother, the psychic forced him to obey the gang's rules. That night, he couldn't sleep and kept thinking about the past. That year, Taro was always a solid support that made Exine extremely confident every time he went on a mission. If he didn't do it, someone else would get involved anyway, so it would be better to let his brother die by his own hand. That's what he thought. The next day, when two children were playing with a ball, they then asked to go over. The wife saw that and also greeted the boy happily, taking the ball out to invite him, but was refused because it was time to fight. Then Sakamoto sat in the store reading the newspaper. Seeing this guy come in, he also understood the problem immediately. He got into a defensive stance, mouthed asking me to come here to say goodbye, then pulled out a gun and shot Black instead. But that phase was blocked by a candy that spat out at the same speed, so shocked that he lost track. Mr. Shin can read minds. But with Sakamoto, it's harder than usual. He secretly creates a smoke screen and uses a rubber band to shoot at his stupid brother. I don't know why, but the power of the shot is very strong. He had to dodge, and before he could regain his posture, Taro had already sneaked up behind him and delivered the finishing blow. Immediately, his mind became hazy, and he felt like he was really stupid. It was really stupid to assassinate a legend like that at such a time. After he woke up, he realized he had been bandaged. The mother and daughter were happy to see him awake and invited him down to eat. The incident was so unexpected that it became a disaster. He didn't know what to do. He clearly tried to kill Sakamoto, but they treated him so kindly. The young man thought there was poison in the food. They had been trained to make their bodies immune, so Shin thought he would be okay. But the soup he sucked was so tasty. The wife saw it and reacted like this. She called her husband in the past, too. How many years had he been an assassin, and had anyone ever cared for him? Now that it's like that, he can't deny always cooking skills because she even conquered the legendary assassin. But the younger brother felt that the food was too warm. It was something he had never seen before, thinking that Sakamoto was trying to protect the little moments of everyday life like this. After eating, they went for a little walk and still had to say goodbye, thanking him very much for dinner. He also made a decision for himself, so he came back to meet the boss's face. The old man was disappointed, thinking that he couldn't do anything because of their previous relationship. The young man bowed his head and begged for Sakamoto's life. The others saw this and burst out laughing, because normally this guy is never weak. The boss asked why he covered for Sakamoto. He didn't hesitate to tell the story of Taro having a family. They didn't care about that. The assassin broke the law again and, of course, will have to suffer the consequences. Hearing that he wanted to change his life for Sakamoto, just hoping they would let him go, and also agreeing that pointing a gun at the person he admired was a mistake, so he wanted to take this opportunity to fix it. However, in the other guy's mind, he wanted to let him die first, and then send someone to kill Sakamoto. As a result, Shin turned around to confront them. The battle above was all heard by Taro at home. Seeing that, he acted like a real assassin. But the toys were still hidden everywhere. He hadn't touched these things for a long time, but that kid was in trouble, so he had to come save him. Let's go back to the present place. Shin defeated many of them. In general, they were just rookies in the assassin world, so it was not difficult to destroy them. The most worrying thing was the large number and modern weapons. Shin Asakura relied on his psychic ability to read the enemy's intentions to keep his life. They also realized the problem and said that if they got too close, their minds would be read. They all split into many angles to shoot, causing the situation to become worse. Getting worse, I said, please try to take down a few more people, but the bullets you brought with you are only one bandit left. You were trying to find a way to escape, but unexpectedly, you got hit by a stray bullet in the leg. You thought your life was over. Then the legendary assassin appeared. Taro used an electric gun to shock the others, burning them. Knowing that this was the one who needed to kill the old man, he focused on the general attack. Seeing that, he took out a pair of chopsticks used to eat noodles and considered them a self-defense weapon. All the shots they aimed at Sakamoto were blocked incredibly. In terms of physical strength, he was almost unrivaled. The skills of a veteran assassin were something he had within him. No matter how many bullets he fired, it was never enough to stop the other party. Helplessly, just like that, the one-sided battle that Sakamoto set up. If it were in the past, everyone would have died for sure. But because he already had a wife and children, he still kept them alive. Many of them were punched until their teeth were worn out without understanding what had just happened. The leader saw this and told his men do not try to take down Sakamoto alone. They had to cooperate. However, it was clear that the enemy only needed 2 knives, small enough to cut the gun in half along with the bodies of the fools. This is the price of aiming at a legendary assassin, Shin told. I would like to witness the whole scene. I secretly thought, this is indeed the senior I admired years ago. He asked, see, why did the senior know to come? Then he took out the pre-installed listening device to show me. I had calculated this, he said. So after defeating the kid, Sakamoto installed this thing on the gun. Liberation. He thought, from now on, no matter what, I will leave. In general, Taro is quite fond of him, so he threw him an apron along with that as an invitation to work at the shop, of course, full salary, although a bit low, but enough to live on. It was fun. This happened so fast that Shin didn't understand anything, but a few days later, the young man started to get used to the new job. Why is Taro recruiting? He was busy eating noodles, but Aoi and her daughter liked him quite a bit, so everything was fine. His psychic ability was now used to help shoppers. The old lady also praised the young man for being so talented and able to guess what a terrible thing I want to buy. The little boy who usually goes to the shop to ask Shin to go out, but he was still on duty, so he refused when asked about his previous job. Shin was about to say the result, but was scared to death by Taro. But a few days later, Shin really got used to the grocery business. Everything was neatly arranged, easy to see. It also recounted Mr. Taro's eye-catching action scenes the day before, even though he retired. But Sakamoto is still the strongest. He can kill all villains in one blow. His wife accidentally heard this sentence and was extremely angry. "Oh, my husband, are you planning to return to being an assassin?" Taro jerked. He pretended to be innocent, like I didn't do anything. "Let me ask again to be sure about those people from the other day," Shin said. "They're all dead, aren't they? My brother told me to make sure he doesn't die, but God knows if he's disabled or not." The wife reminded the legendary assassin to remember that if Taro commits a crime, she will definitely file for divorce. It's no joke at this point in time. The only two words that could defeat Sakamoto forced him to obey. Seeing that, he curiously asked. It seemed that the old man stabbed Shin for being stupid. Luckily, it was only in his mind, so he was also shy next time, not daring to say anymore. A little later, the two brothers went to Chinatown to buy things. He looked surprised, not expecting this place to be so big. He was confused because there were still many places to buy things. Why does it have to be here? Taro brought out this type of dumpling that only bakes 50 of these delicious buns every day. It's enough for mother and daughter. Just thinking about it makes that Shin happy. Sakamoto really loves his family. When a strange object falls right on the head of the legendary assassin, and the body is obviously fine, but the dumpling, it's just crushed, just dusted off the outside. The girl who crushed the dumplings was actually being chased, so she jumped down from above. Seeing that they were so stubborn, she had to stay and fight because she had some martial arts skills. She said that it would be a long time before the idiots could catch her. "Makes things more complicated," Shin said. "Please ask your seniors for advice, because if you interfere with your wife and know for sure, it will be a big deal." The battle is now starting. Although it is a weak attack, Lu Xiaotong's technique is very good enough. The power to take down several people at the same time. Please realize that this girl is using Tai Chi Bao. Then 3 people then surrounded her, intending to attack at the same time, but still failed. The girl easily slipped behind and took them all down. She was thinking of taking a breath when the last guy came out of nowhere and caught her. She couldn't escape. These people were angry for a while now, so they were planning to use a knife to stab her. They were ordered to keep her alive. Do anything, so don't be afraid. However, Taro didn't let this go as he wanted, using pliers to break the knife in half, shocking everyone with just a gentle punch. The other guy immediately passed out. Shin hit the head of the guy who was controlling her. She had no way to escape, but she also had to take down the guy holding the gun so no one would get hurt because of her. This extremely cool fighting skill made Shin feel confused. Before I could introduce it, the others came and forced the 3 of them to run away immediately. Sakamoto conveniently carried Lu Xiaotong and ran away, making the others helpless. The Chinese boss, after knowing that Lu Xiaotong had escaped, was extremely angry with his subordinates. Knowing that 2 extremely strong men were involved in this matter, the old man heard that and was very angry, because every time he let that girl escape, he was the leader of the gang and the one who once killed Lu Xiaotong's entire house to rob property. So she is a thorn in the eye that needs to be removed. Then every night can be delicious. The other guy was also scolded and beaten, then asked to go find backup immediately. But when he stood up, he was killed by an assassin. The slash was so fast that his head could still move. It was truly horrifying. They were crazy brothers. Even the old man was afraid of their brutality from Bacho and Sunhee. Seeing that they had their hands on the old man, he immediately ordered them to take the key from the Lu Xiaotong's body and bring it back to him. With it, they would control the whole world. Then they would be able to enjoy the glory. Bacho and Sunhee heard that. They confirmed whether they could kill those who got in their way. He accepted as long as he could complete the mission, which made the 2 brothers happy. At this time, Taro and others were running like crazy on the roof. After the introduction, Shin was shocked to learn that she was the daughter of a mafia family and a famous member of the 6 clans. When asked what they wanted from her, she showed off the key used to open the secret treasury of the family. It was entrusted to the daughter by her parents, but unexpectedly, they were murdered. They thought it better to throw it away. This way, they could both save their lives and not let those people steal it. Speaking of this, Lu Xiaotong got angry because her parents sacrificed their lives to protect this thing. If she threw it away, their deaths would be in vain. Thinking back to that night, she told herself that she had to try harder. She survived so that she could see her parents in heaven. The incident above had nothing to do with the two of them, so she said goodbye and wanted to chase after them, but was pulled back by her senior, the legendary assassin. Want to know if Lu Xiaoteng can make dumplings? She didn't understand anything, but still said that her father taught him how to make them. Then Shin asked, suddenly feeling uneasy, advised Sakamoto not to get too involved. He had decided to give up on his shopping and wanted to save this girl, but in return, she had to make delicious dumplings to repay him. This was the firm condition that surprised her. At this moment, two assassins arrived and kicked Sakamoto away 100 meters. It's true that there's no other way. He had to stay and fight. She realized that these were twin brothers who were famous assassins in this area. The rent is very high, but they guarantee that they will always find prey. They always talk about morality, but in reality, Bacho and Sun here are serial killers who use other people's lives to buy burials whenever they have free time. This guy uses the victim's head to draw. In general, it's very perverted. Hearing this, Shin immediately understood and rushed to punch him. That was really fast, but the other guy knew martial arts. He thought he went crazy when he saw his teammate being beaten. "Kill please," he said funny, because they don't even know the legendary assassin's name. Then just pathetic amateurs immediately got targeted. But the truth is that the other guy, right? Taro came back and hit him straight on the head, extremely strong. The whole floor was destroyed. However, that move was still not enough to knock down Sun. He suddenly asked, "Who are you?" He didn't even bother to say anything. The two brothers told themselves that it was because the ceiling was old that they got hit by the punch. They then said to tear Taro to pieces, but Bacho asks for the small key. She said, "This is the last relic of my parents. Even if I die, I will not give it up." She was so angry that she almost rushed in and risked her life, but was taken away by Sakamoto. They were professional killers, so they knew that sentence was used to provoke her to continue. He continued to throw hidden weapons, but was easily blocked. Taro said, "No one has the right to decide what is important to others." That is what he learned from his wife at home. He recalled that year when the two were dating, when Taro went to kill someone, making his clothes covered in blood. Always felt cold before the job of an assassin, so she didn't accept that she didn't need a gift from the hands of harmed people. Sakamoto didn't understand the result and was scared. "If he continues to do those cruel things, don't even dream of marrying me," she said, and jumped straight down. In reality, she also loves this man very much, so she did that. He was determined to change. Suddenly, Taro rushed to protect her, landing safely. She also innocently said that the fall was higher than she thought, making Taro helpless. She said, "What you did just now was to help people." The man she loved realized that death was very scary, especially for those who stayed behind. If she hadn't survived, wouldn't he have been heartbroken? From then on, Sakamoto understood the importance of death. Taro also promised to never kill again, considering this a rule between them. And at the same time, to compensate for the previous lives that died at his hands, Taro will have to use the rest of his life to save people. This made Shin cry nonstop, and was also reminded by my senior not to kill from now on. Seeing that, the other two guys also rushed into fight. Seeing them using weapons, he had to use kitchen utensils to defend himself. Shin occasionally contributed, but mainly Sakamoto realized that these two had some ability. Bacho and Sun Hai decided to coordinate their attacks because they were twins, so they understood each other very well. Unfortunately, after using their ultimate technique, they still couldn't land a single hit. It's been a long time since they used as much strength as they did today, so they were already paralyzed. The others felt it's hard to understand how he could slash at such high speed at the same time, and still avoid all of them. Their slashes had never been dodged like that before. He was about to continue when suddenly the whole pot was smashed straight into the head of that little brother. Quickly, it made the older brother startled. He also broke the proud weapon that was only the size of a pan. Although the other thing was reinforced, it hurt a bit because he had been a long time since he had touched something so heavy. He turned to attack Lu Xiaoteng. Then Shin, who read that thought, immediately strangled him and knocked him down. Taro then carried the whole refrigerator straight to him and knocked him unconscious on the spot. After finishing, the girl asked what kind of work they do. Then, knowing they were lowly employees, hearing that, she was also happy, thanked all three profusely, then brought the other two back to the production site. Lu Xiaoteng also used a knife to threaten the old man, making him scared because of respect for Sakamoto and his words to not kill anyone. So this girl didn't kill but only tortured the boy. She thought Shivi avenged her parents. Seeing that it wasn't enough, Shin was about to help a few more times when Taro killed him again, reminding him in his head. It was less talkative, less pathetic, thinking that this was enough. At the same time, She invited the other two into the warehouse to explore. Inside, there were indeed many treasures, but the most valuable thing was the jar of wine that her father left behind, which turned out to be a family heirloom. The head of the Luke family will keep the treasure here of Liu Xiaotong's father, which is the wine, so that when he is old enough, he can drink it with his daughter. When she reads this message, she will be moved to tears, so she opens it. He invited the two brothers to thank them for helping. The crushed buns would be the drinking food to prove their friendship. From now until the next day when returning to normal life, Shin was very surprised when the little girl was present. The road has been accepted. She will make original dumplings to sell here. As for that huge treasure, how is it calculated? She called him a fool, because who would sell something that has been passed down for generations? Take money, but from now on, they will all become Sakamoto family members, so they have to follow the first rule, which is not to kill anyone. If they do, they will be killed by the devil. It sounds contradictory, but he doesn't care. After being hired, she's constantly late, making Shin angry. They're all employees, but this guy always has to do all the work in the shop. Her way of doing things is no different from making excuses for laundry detergent. Then she put the old man in the fridge with soft drinks. It's true that the rice is real. The other things are similar because she thinks that customers will know how to find and buy them. The young man realized that this girl probably has never worked anywhere. That's why the girl said yes, but she's just helping her father to dump dead bodies. I can't stand it anymore, Shin said. He asked Mr. Sakamoto to fire this girl quickly. Otherwise, it will ruin the peaceful atmosphere. Their existence alone is not peaceful. One is a former gangster, and the other two are retired assassins. Yet they dare to say that. Taro also spoke up to advise his younger brother to calm down. Static shocked the other two. At least like this, the uncle also knows how to joke. Normally, Sakamoto only acts. He can't laugh like this. Shin looked scared. Scared because I've been following him for years but have never seen this scene before. Even more surprised, another Sakamoto came in, but it seemed like this was the real thing because he kept silent and didn't say anything. Their battle was also caught. They gave up after 5 seconds. However, neither side could do anything to the other side. The clone's ability was truly extraordinary. Just stab the knife. How the hell did he see the gun again? Sakamoto also greeted his old friend, calling him Nagumo. The opponent, Taro, is still as strong as ever. Nothing has changed. The two younger siblings witnessed this scene, not understanding what was going on, but that guy transformed like a Superman without revealing any movements. Please know this person is very strong because Shin can't read his mind. Nagumo looks serious, but actually, he's a professional sea diver. Look at the two people who were fooled by me just now and laughed like crazy, saying, they're really stupid. The result was that he was beaten to a pulp. Shin also asked the boss if this guy was here. Nagumo introduced himself as working at the supermarket across the street. The other one also believed it because this guy lied without blinking an eye. But thinking back, there's no supermarket here. Taro also said that this is a killer from the same generation as him. He's 27 years old this year, making the other two angry because he lied again. The reason Nagumo came today was to announce that there was a bounty of 1 billion yen on Sakamoto's head. The little guy insisted that this was another lie, but it was all true. Just then, a pizza delivery man interrupted the conversation. Nagumo continued to say that the assassins had started to act, then advised the other friend to be careful. Then suddenly, he read the delivery man's scheme. Turns out he was an assassin who was planning to kill Sakamoto. Seeing him threaten the other guy, he didn't care and enjoyed it. The assassin was furious and suddenly strangled by Nagumo, but Sakamoto stopped him from killing him. The guy who planned to get through this incident without bloodshed also asked, if you were so confident because it was very possible right away, Nagumo's whole organization will also aim for the 1 billion yen head. But later he just smiled and said he was kidding. Nagumo remembers the time when they worked together. It was really fun before letting him leave. Taro also asked, if at this point, he still wanted to kill me, then who would benefit? Nagumo said, I don't know because I was just carrying out the mission. Even though Sakamoto had retired from the mafia gang, but still caused too much attention is the case involving the sugar-deficient Nagumo, who then carried the other guy to return peace to the grocery store, and he said that he just wanted to see Sakamoto for one last time. So he came. Then he disappeared. Shin didn't know. Is this guy an ally or an enemy? Lou was thinking maybe she should go abroad. It's too dangerous here. The whole scene just now was being watched by assassins. They looked down on Sakamoto because he had such a body. Some of the fat guys saw Nagumo as a formidable opponent, but were teased. Seeing them like that, the leader spoke up and said, they are underestimating Sakamoto. Legendary Master, if you want to assassinate that guy, you have to bypass everything from time to location, find the key moment, and then attack. Assassins all have big egos, so they are not afraid of anyone. Washed his hands of the sword for 5 years. It's probably not that big of a deal. Just finished speaking, Taro looked at the camera and declared if they continued to follow him, everyone would see hell. I'd also like to mention the incident from this morning. Nagumo suggested, I'm afraid that from now on there will be more delivery people like that coming to assassinate me, he said to Shin. Worrying is useless because we don't know who the enemy is. The most important thing is to be ready for any bad situation that may happen. The daughter and his wife then ran over to talk about the trip. Tomorrow, little Hannah had been looking forward to this day for a long time. After hearing this, the father remembered that last time he promised his daughter he would take her to the park, even though he knew it would be dangerous. But the next day, everyone still went to Sugar Park to play, starting with some dangerous games that made Shin worried, while the sister and daughter enjoyed the sugar very much, trying to endure so as not to ruin the atmosphere. Little Hannah also bragged to her sister about a place she really wanted to go to. There was a cute stone mascot there. It had been a long time since she had an opportunity like this, so she wanted to play it all out. Finished asking Sakamoto to sweat profusely because it will be very busy. Shin reminded his friend Lu about the mission, which is to protect the other brother's family from danger, so they can have fun comfortably. She saw many here. How can a person knows who is the killer and is wary of them? Shin also mentions that he is a psychic who can read other people's thoughts. Under the most favorable conditions, he will grasp all the thoughts of everyone within a 30-meter range. If someone has murderous intent, he will inform her to eliminate it together, because it must have read her mind before. And as soon as he finished speaking, he informed Taro about the enemy approaching. The guy who was pretending to be a cleaning staff thought Sakamoto was looking down on them for daring to take his family out, but he was worried about distracting the two mother and son. Let me show off Taro passing by the opponent, then immediately defeat him by stabbing the pin through that person's body. Their actions were so fast that the wife couldn't detect it when she saw Sakamoto. It was really terrible to defeat the opponent. He even avoided stabbing him in the internal organs so he wouldn't die. Seeing this from afar, a man named Tatsu also showed contempt for his stupid teammate. He was extremely careful before acting, always finding out information first. He see that Taro doesn't look like a legendary assassin at all, but a father. The information about his birth is also known to Shin, so he think he's very annoying. However, he already knows how to deal with Shin's superpowers because he just doesn't need to think anything. This guy easily passed the double murder couple to approach little Hannah. Aoi and Hannah then asked to ride the roller coaster. That father, who hated the most because of his fat body, too much so it feels extremely uncomfortable to have ride. Lu asked Shin why they had to sit all the way in back, and he said it was for easy observation. For now, he couldn't feel any aura around him, but based on Lu's observation skills, she revealed that the guy in front looked suspicious. Lu knew he had been exposed and secretly thought to himself, please Reddit, and he immediately looked worried because this guy is quite strong. Please remind boss. Be careful because the assassin was right behind him and shot straight into his eyes, but he was wearing bulletproof glasses. Because of seatbelt, no one could move. Seeing that, Shin used a gun to destroy the seatbelt and then jumped out, causing Lu to panic because he was going down at high speed. Please calculate the exact time. Wait for the train to circle and land right where the assassin slapped the coin. Very calm. Even though they were pulled outside, they were all people with so falling from a height is nothing. Both sides greeted each other a few sentences. Shin said, this is Sakamoto's day off, so I will work overtime instead. Seeing Shin's attitude is not bad, Tatsu started attacking without letting his mind be read. Because he had to avoid the roller coaster, Shin was unfortunately cut by a poison projectile. It's true that his body is immune to poison, but this thing was made by Tatsu's own hands, so it's a bit powerful, especially immediately lose sight. The other side looks disdainful because he saw the fear inside them just now. Tatsu thinks the more clinging to life, the weaker. Seeing this, Shin doesn't understand anything but still act like he knows everything. It's natural that Taro is afraid of death because he has to protect his wife and children for the rest of his life. Once there is something that needs to be protected, people will fight harder than ever. Tatsu saw this guy's mouth was so big while being temporarily blinded. How the hell could he fight? The roller coaster continued to rush forward, but surprisingly, he jumped late compared to his opponent even though he didn't see it. Immediately, he was dragged away. It was fun to compliment him, but whether he survived was the important thing. The duel immediately started. The one who had the advantage was, of course, the coin slapper, forcing the young man to find a way to turn the tables after reading his mind. Han's position was near him. He pulled his opponent down there right when he was performing. The other guy was a bit surprised, so he stopped for a moment to give his opponent time. Prepare to put on the bunny suit that his niece loves to see fight for it. Actually, he already has a plan because Sakamoto is sitting above watching, so he can completely help by imagining himself. He was fighting with that guy to ask. Read that mind to both attack and defend reasonably. Tatsu got punched and didn't understand what was going on because it was clear that Shin's eyes were temporarily blind. But the audience was cheering for him. The little rabbit on the other side kept hitting but couldn't land a single hit, so he started to lose his composure. In terms of strength, he seemed to be stronger. The wife also praised the punch as being very powerful and said, "Daddy's daughter is attracted to Bunny." In fact, he was thinking about giving instructions to his younger brother, who asked for them, so he obviously trusted and followed them, so he was able to overwhelm the opponent. However, the ship was quite strong. After taking so many punches, he was still able to stand firm for a while, so he realized. It turned out that the poison had not lost its effect, but that his every movement had been seen through. Tatsu suddenly saw that Shin's aura changed and asked, "What is this?" He tried to slash out one blow, revealing his eyes were still closed. Then the shock ended. The action was immediately received a two-legged kick from Shin, ending the fight. The audience thought this was just a show. Then it ended. Praised because it's so good. Taro also likes that for his brother, to make him happy. Poor thing, everyone stopped fighting, but Lou was still playing the roller coaster game. It was true that Lou was screaming loudly. Someone shouted, "Go up and ask where the beggar is," but no one answered. Nearby, two skilled assassins were aiming at Sakamoto. One sister is named Abiguro. The other is a boiled. This boy saw his teammate almost step on the ants. He scolded her and said not to step on the ants, being an assassin, but still he loved insects. He wouldn't hurt anyone except the target. She looked annoyed, but deep down, she was impressed. On the other side, after catching Tatsu, the cute girl gave Shin some eye drops, like an antidote, but he felt a bit uncomfortable, so he tried to run away. Taro asked Tatsu about the person who hired him, but was asked if he'd be released if he told the truth. So, she went over, picked up his poison knife, and stabbed Tatsu. Shin was shocked because there was still one eye that hadn't been treated. He had to say that he worked for a company called Don Dinkai, but he didn't know much about them. He said they were all gangsters. The psychic had teased him earlier, saying he was afraid of death, but after being scared by some poison, he told everything. He said he was just a temporary assassin, so he don't care. The other girl didn't understand anything. She asked Shin to show his assassin ID card. This is an organization that manages professional assassins. Mr. Sakamoto and Shin was a member there. She felt sad when he saw his friend's photo. It seemed like he was forced to. Tatsu then asked Sakamoto that, have he been in order? For which Taro gave a death stare. Even Shin didn't know about the word order. He called it an urban legend. Just then, little Hannah and her mother came over. She was very impressed with the fight and recognized the bad guy who had just been defeated. Aoi asked what everyone was doing. The younger brother cleverly said it was part of a superhero script and that they weren't trying to catch people. So, they were practicing. Later, the whole family went somewhere else to eat the rice made by little Hannah. They asked to take away the weapons. He hoped the assassins would leave them alone. Tatsu thought he was going to be killed, but the psychic told him not to interfere with Taro family again. The girl ran back and praised the performance, calling it cool. She even put a band-aid on his wound. He didn't understand what problem that family was having, but since they were forgiven, he decided to just enjoy himself. When Shin ate, he felt sick and thought it was a side effect of the poison, affecting his brain. He realized he couldn't read minds anymore. He felt worried because his detector wasn't working, which could be very dangerous. He advised the boss to go home. While thinking, the wife turned back and said that everyone seemed strange today. She wondered if they were hiding something from her. This made all three of them very scared. Inside the bathroom, he was sighing when he met Boiled. Abiguro, the girl, pressed his head down and asked where he was going. He told his sister to go down because he was too heavy. The guy also scolded him. He said, "You are a cute girl, so don't spread your leg like that." When Tatsu asked what they were doing here, of course, they were finishing Tatsu's undone work. It felt like a parent had to solve a difficult problem for their child. The other person also said he should thank him because if he didn't finish this job, he'd get beaten. She's also looking forward to meet legendary assassin Sakamoto, but the boy has met him before and has a scar on his face. It looked like Taro slashed him, but it wasn't like he accidentally fell. Sakamoto was also partly responsible, so today was considered revenge. Looking at these two crazy people, no one would believe they killed 100 people in the previous battle. This can be considered the fiercest couple in the history of Don Denkai. Returning to the wife's place, She thought that because she didn't prepare much food, the three of them were acting strangely. Little Hannah cried and asked, "Daddy, do you hate amusement parks?" Shin immediately got excited and shouted on behalf of Taro, "Of course I like to play." Then hearing that, Aoi invited everyone to go a few more rounds. The two of them stood outside, being very careful because he lost the ability to read minds. It was evening, and we still hadn't seen each other. Which killer came for what reason? This probably wasn't the best place for those guys, because there were too many people. The next place the mother and daughter wanted to go was the haunted house. This was the perfect place to act. Then, she shocked the other three people, who were also afraid of this kind of thing. So, Lou had to take out the family medicine bottle. The whole family went inside, but got noticed by Boyle. They encountered a ghost and were very scared. It's truly the scariest haunted house in Japan. Everything inside is made very neatly. Shin saw the mother and son playing happily, and the older brother reminded them to be careful. Just in time, someone attacked the psychic, but he dodged it and let the older brother show off. Sakamoto threw many punches at the opponent, knocking him unconscious. The girl saw the zombie stop and was surprised. The two younger siblings were shocked because he could even beat someone until they stood still like that. How amazing. In general, this guy is just a beginner and easy to deal with. If all the people who targeted them were this weak, it was good. The action scene was only shown to Obiguro in the security room. She admitted that the fat guy looked like him but was so fast. She wanted to fight with him seriously. But the other guy asked not to interfere because that was his target. The other lady was quite obedient and agreed to give Sakamoto to him, and she would take care of others. Obiguro said to Boyle that they used to be best friends, making the old man angry and calling me and you not friends at all, just from the same training ground. Remembering the time they were training at the Sakamoto Training Center, he was only 14 years old, but considered a genius among the boys. At 15, he was worse in everything. Recently, he was able to beat his friend. He came to get to know him, mostly out of admiration, not for revenge. From that day on, they were always together like two sides of the same coin. On Valentine's Day, usual killers would have nothing. Boyle was sad when he saw the girls bring gifts for him. It felt like a real ghost. They were in the same training class, so they really admired Sakamoto's talent. There are still many other things in the closet. I thought this was terrible, but looking at Nagumo, he's even more amazing. This friend is just handsome and good at playing tricks, so he's very popular with girls. When Nagumo saw him, he asked who this was and Taro said he didn't know. He also said if you want to eat the soup, just take it all. It was even more annoying when he was pushed down by a little girl and hit his head on the ground. He's been angry ever since. At first, he thought they could be close friends, but the truth was terrible. Obiguro also understood that this was a bad idea. The personal grudge that Boyle strongly denied made her find him even more adorable. At the same time, three of them had defeated many assassins pretending to be ghosts. It was very likely that the assassin organization tried their best to kill Sakamoto. Then Lou was tired and wanted to go home. Hannah was very excited, wondering what she would see next. I saw that and praised her. She was so good, just like that guy. Lou continued to drink from the alcohol bottle while shouting, "It's the Luke family's lucky medicine. Even if someone dies, they won't be afraid of ghosts anymore." She opened the door and saw many people inside. Taro had to defeat everyone who aimed at him, but when Boyle appeared, everything changed. Sakamoto was taken to another room to make it easier to fight, so he asked him to move away. It was if he remembered him. Of course it was wrong, and Sakamoto wanted to give him a taste of hell for daring to target his family. The boy heard that and got angry. He definitely wanted to make Taro remember everything. At this time, after dealing with the assassins, he quickly ran to the mother and daughter. Luckily, Obiguro didn't do anything, but just let them sleep a little. She was a bit disappointed when she saw the person who came and asked, thinking that he wasn't interesting at all. As soon as she finished speaking, she was suddenly kicked in the face by a drunk girl. She was very angry and said he would show her his family's martial arts. His friend saw her using drunken fists to catch the opponent and was also watching. It's starting to get interesting now. On the other side, the boy asked again if Taro really didn't remember him. Then he knew it was true. The other side was also embarrassed to say, "Actually, I don't remember you either." What Sakamoto cares about right now is where his wife and children are. He was arrested and searched for him. He was so angry that he rushed in to fight, but he had already used the exploding candy. The opponent was not easy to defeat at all. He kept dodging. He kept throwing many candies at the same time because he had the advantage, so the boy kept landing punches. His punches were very strong, and the sound was loud enough for people on the other side to hear. Lou continued to fight happily, but this time she was blocked. Obiguro also grabbed her head and shook it, making Luke spin and roll on the ground. Luckily, She was quite funny and not serious at all, or he would have died. He was angry and couldn't do anything when he needed to protect his brother and his mother because his forehead is too big. Abiguro asked for less serious beating because she knows the girl is still hiding her job. The rule is very simple. If you don't beat us in every 10 seconds, the other guy will go sell salt and beg. The guys will hold a chainsaw and threaten to cut him into pieces. She was so scared that he thought his friend would save him. Who have the old lady would cry. I said many sorry, because I couldn't do it, and then went back to Sakamoto, who was lying down. I thought that retiring 5 years ago made me much weaker. The strength of both sides was very different. There were 2 bombs on the same table. His arms were stronger, and he was confident that he could hit from any angle. These sentences suddenly reminded the assassin father of something. A friend had previously introduced these 2 types of weapons. Then the 2 sides continued to fight, but he still had the advantage, so he was beaten badly, making the opponent even angrier. Before, Sakamoto could complete any mission, but now he couldn't even protect his family. The bodyguard threw his strongest punch at him, sending him flying away. He thought it was over, so he said goodbye, but suddenly a cold feeling appeared, scaring the other party. Sakamoto then read out the formula for creating the type of candy bomb. Normally, he doesn't care, but being reminded to this extent, he still remembers that everything worth mentioning is from the body. The fat legendary assassin has now returned to his prime.